While working with Flutter, have you ever thought this?
Maybe I should build a boat. But what about pirates?
What I meant to say is, have you ever thought this?
If only there was a free way to help speed up the development and testing of Flutter apps.
I'm here today to tell you that yes, there is a free way for you to increase the speed of your development and testing with Flutter apps, and it's with a tool called Widgetbook. Widgetbook is an open source tool which lets you build, test, and show off everything you create with Flutter. This can be a widget of a particular screen or a full screen itself. Widgetbook has saved us at Caza de Casa up to 1 hour a day. And later in this video, I'm going to show you our Widgetbook and give you an inside look at how we use it. I'm Mark O'Sullivan, the founder of Caza de Casa, a cheaper alternative to Airbnb without all the extra fees added on top. This is Caza de Casa. I'm going to give a quick demo now. So in this first screen, you can see there's a list of different apartments, and from here we can go in and filter. So say for example, I want to look for an apartment which is less than $2,000. Then I want to make sure there's 2 bedrooms, there's 2 bathrooms, and for the must-have features, so this is the things that the apartment must have, and if it's not there, then I don't want to see it. So in this case, I need to have air conditioning because here in Medellin it's very, very hot, so I need to have something which will cool me down. Show the apartments. So now I can see that we have 9 apartments in total. I'll go into the options screen, and from here I can change my view to look at the nice to have features. So this will show me from my list of nice to have features which I specified beforehand, and these are features which it's not a deal breaker if the apartment does not have it, but it would be really nice if it did. So we can see these at a glance now whenever we go back. So to make this a little bit easier and go back, I'm going to change this by most nice to haves. And I can see that this apartment has 4 out of the 6, which is more than the second one, which only has 3 out of the 6. So let's have a closer look at this one. I can see all the photographs. I can see the price, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, the size, where it is in the map, and then I can see an overview of the features along with which features that it has out of my feature preferences. I can also see the frequently asked questions, so I can open these up. And I can also add it to my favorites list. If I click on the photographs, I can see all of the photographs inside of a grid. It makes it very easy for me to see very quickly what the apartment looks like. And this one looks nice. So I've got to add it into my favorites. I can see it now, it's inside my favorites. And finally, I just want to show the host section. So this is the host section. If you want to advertise your apartment to rent, you can come into Caza de Casa, become a host, and edit all the details, add your apartment in here, and you can make it available to all of our users. And this is what the host aspect looks like. Let's talk about how companies build with Flutter. So I've been working with Flutter since December 2017, roughly, and I've been working professionally with Flutter since January 2021. In January 2021, I got offered the chance to work alongside Simon Lightfoot and the rest of the team at Dev Angels London. During my time at Dev Angels London, we worked with 4 different companies, building some really cool apps, but one in particular was quite famous.
An app aimed at charity-minded millennials is the offering from business partners Matt Crate and Melody Trong.
As you can see, there's 3 charities in my portfolio, so I'm now going to set up my monthly donation, £15 a month in total, split 3 ways.
They're seeking £85,000 in exchange for just 3% of their company.
And lastly, sharing. You can share charities, the causes, and you can encourage others to follow your lead. And that's Toucan.
When it comes to building a new screen, I've seen 3 approaches commonly taken by companies if they are not using Widgetbook. Before I talk about the different approaches that companies take to building a new screen with Flutter, I want to invite you to tell me and the rest of the Flutter community what your approach is in your company. We have a discussion on the Flutter forum and also a discussion on Reddit. I'm going to link both of these below, so feel free to check them out and read over the different approaches that other people take, and then share what approach that you take. The first approach that I'm going to talk about, which is actually the most common approach, and if you are a Flutter developer, I'm assuming that you probably have used this approach in the past whenever building Flutter apps, and that is to integrate the new screen directly into the existing application. How do you do this? First, you create your new Dart file, then you add in your widget code which represents that screen. You update your writer code to include the new screen inside the writer code, and then from here you run the app on your device, whether it be an emulator or a real device. You click through the application until you finally reach your brand new screen. From here, you can hot reload after you make some changes from time to time to check your progress and make sure you're right on track. What are some of the problems that you can experience whenever you take this approach? Well, I'm going to give you an example. What if your backend system is down and your screen that you're working on, this brand new screen, is to be shown after the login screen? How do you get to your screen? Sure, you could adapt your writer code and make it so that you can see that screen before the login, but then you're going to have to undo all those changes just to get it back to the way it was beforehand, and then retest it to make sure there's no strange bugs once it's in its proper position inside the application. Instead, you might want to take a different approach. A second approach that you can take is to have a separate entry point for your application for whenever you run your application. So in this case, you don't have a writer set up, you just show the brand new screen that you're working on. What is the benefit of this? So in this case, you don't have to worry about that issue of your backend system being down or not being able to log in. You can go straight into developing your brand new screen and there's going to be no issues there. But this doesn't get around other issues inside of your code base. For example, you might have someone else in the team who's introduced a bug where you can't actually run the application.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
What do you do now? Do you waste your time fixing that bug, or do you wait around for a fix, or do you take another approach? Another approach that you can take is to create an entire new project just for this one new screen. Now, I know what you're thinking, that's a little bit extreme, but if you are being blocked, for example, by a bug similar to the login issue we talked about previously, or there's some issue preventing you from running the app, this might be a good alternative. However, you do have to deal with some problems with this approach as well. With this approach, if you want to use some widgets from an existing screen, you now have to copy all of the code for that widget and move it into this brand new project. This can be very, very complicated and very, very slow if you have multiple widgets that you want to use in your brand new screen. So there you have it. I've told you about 3 common approaches to building a brand new screen with Flutter if you're not using Widgetbook. And now I'm going to explain some of the problems I've seen in the past whenever using these approaches. Okay, so the first problem that I've noticed in the past with these 3 approaches is the speed. And that's not just the speed of development, but it's also the speed of testing. Picture this. You have an application and it's available for Android, iOS, web, desktop. How are you going to test your new screen to make sure it looks good for all those different devices? It's going to be quite difficult. And now think about what happens if your new screen has 6 different states and you need to make sure each individual state is working correctly on each platform. Whenever you think about states, you can think of Uber. Uber, whenever you're using the app, you will notice that it has a different display whenever you're going to order your Uber. Then whenever you're waiting for your Uber, the screen changes. Whenever you're inside the Uber, it changes again. After you arrive at your destination, it changes again. Uber itself has about 6 or 7 different states, and You can just imagine how difficult and time consuming it can be to test all of these. The second problem with these approaches is that it can actually be quite easy for new developers to a project to recreate some of the existing widgets inside of that project. Why? Well, whenever you're dealing with applications which are absolutely massive, which have hundreds of screens, it can be very, very easy to not see one of those screens before, and as a result, you end up recreating a widget which already exists. Now, I could tell you about how Widgetbook is faster and actually is better to avoid new developers on your team from recreating existing widgets on your project, but I think it would actually probably be better if I show you. So let's see it. The plan is that we're going to go inside of the app, and we're going to go inside of the host section, and we're going to open up one of the listings which is currently in the pending state. Straight afterwards, we're going to do the exact same, open up the same screen inside of Widgetbook, except with Widgetbook, of course, we don't have to log in. So let's do it. I have my emulator here, and let's start the stopwatch, and let's launch the app. Okay, let's see. So running Xcode build. Yeah, this might take a while. Okay, so we have the app up and ready. Let's sign in. I'm going to sign into my account and sign in. Okay, so we get a code sent to my email. I'm going to check that right now. And that code is 360, so 360081. Sign in successful, go into host, and this is the pending listing, and pause. There we go, so that was 1 minute and 3 seconds. So let's see how long it takes to get to the same screen with Widgebook. In our previous demo, we seen that it took 1 minute and 3 seconds to get to the listing review screen in a pending state. So I'm going to try and get to the same screen now with Widgetbook and do it faster than this. So let's see. I'm going to reset this timer, start, and let's run Widgetbook. There we go. Widgetbook is launched. Okay, so listing review page, and that's pending state. Oh, pause. So there we have it, 28 seconds. So you can see in just that small demo how I managed to save 35 seconds using Widgetbook instead of running the application on an emulator. You can imagine how much extra time I would save if I'm going to launch more devices to test this on. For example, I could use a smaller iPhone, I could use a bigger Android device, I could launch it on web. All of that is possible inside of Widgetbook. So now I'm going to show you how you can change your device inside of Widgetbook. And this is really, really simple to use, providing you have it set up. So you can look here on the right hand side of Widgetbook, I have a section called add-ons. Now these are options that you can add within Widgetbook to make your life easier when it comes to testing. One of these add-ons that I have is called device. With this I can change the device to anything that I want. So in this case I can switch to OnePlus 8 Pro, I can switch it to iPhone SE. So that lets me see what this layout looks like, the screen in a very small device. But it also lets me see what it would look like if I was going to use a desktop or a web. And you can see what it looks like there. Right now, Caza de Casa is not available for web, so this screen doesn't look that great right now. But next year, this will hopefully be all ready. One of the other things I said is really easy to test with Widgetbook is all the different states inside of a screen. I'm going to show you this right now. So, looking at the same screen again, the listing review screen, up at the top right, we have an option called knobs. Inside of the screen, I've added two knobs, one which will let me change what listing I'm looking at, and the other which will let me change what state the current listing is in. So I'm going to give you a demonstration on this. I can change this listing into draft. I can change it into draft with no photos. I can change it into rejected, pending, approved, live. All of these different states are possible and easily viewable inside of Widgetbook. Now let's look at the different listings. Here I have 3 different options, and now I can change between Ober 15, Alejandria, and Belvedere. So let's switch to Alejandria, and you can see that the photos have changed and all the details on this listing have changed as well. So we'll switch again to Belvedere, and you can see again everything's changed, and if I want to I can change this to draft. This is in draft state, and then finally in pending. It's that simple. You're probably wondering what the code looks like to set up Widgetbook for using knobs like I just shown you in my demo. I'm going to show you that code right now. So here we have the code for the list and review page inside of Widgetbook. At the top I have mocked all the different services that I'm making use of inside of my list and review page. The rest of this is code which is needed to be able to set up some of the knobs inside of the screen. So here we have the list and knob.setup. I've created some of these knobs to make sure that I can reuse them across multiple screens inside of Widgetbook. That makes it so much easier for me to test, and I'd highly recommend everyone else to do this as well. So going back to this, you can see that I also have the list and state knob. This allows me to set up and switch between all the different states for the listing. And then further down, I retrieve all the data that I need for my list and review page, and then I send that data into the page and I wrap it around with a multi-provider. That's it. There's nothing more to it. So previously I said that Widgetbook helps eliminate the problem of new developers to your project or your team recreating existing widgets inside of your project. How does Widgetbook do this? Well, if your company has added every single page of your application inside of Widgetbook, there's no chance that the new developer is going to miss one of these pages. All they have to do is open up Widgetbook, run it, and click through all of the pages that are there. And you can see just how easy it is to do this. These are all of the pages that we have inside of Caza de Casa. And there's even one there that we're no longer using. Before we wrap up, I want to show you how we build at Caza de Casa using Widgetbook. So I'm going to create a brand new page, example page. I've added it into my project, example page. And now I need to make sure that I do all the imports. That's all good. I have to export this new page. So pages, and this is going to be below the error page. So this is going to be example page. Okay, so that's ready. Now I can create this inside of Widgetbook. So pages, example page, widget, new, example page, and that's it. The only thing I have to do now is I have to run build runner within Widgetbook, and I've got a shortcut with Melos, so Melos there is running build runner. Okay, successful, and now we can rerun Widgetbook. So let's go into Widgetbook right now, and we should see our brand new example page. And then from here, this is where I start adding all the code for the brand new screen. So if I go back into widget page, or not widget page, sorry, example page, from here I can wrap this in a host scaffold, which is commonly used for all our host pages. give it a child, text, thanks for watching, and then on next tab. Let's format, refresh with hot reload, and you can see it's all here, ready to rock and roll. So that was a really basic example, and you're probably wondering what happens whenever you add state management into your brand new screen. Well, you might see something like this. I'm going to show you what I changed inside of the example screen to show this error message, and I'm going to show you how we can update our Widgetbook code to be able to fix it. So inside of our example page, we're now making use of provider to gain access to the app service, and from here we're able to work out whether or not the device we're using is iOS. Okay, so what do we need to update inside of our Widgetbook code to make this work? So let's add app service, mock providers, app service, context, initial selection, platform. I need to import this. iPhone. Okay. So this mock providers that you see on the screen, this is something I set up to make my life easier whenever I'm going to be using the same providers over and over again, the same service over again inside of Widgetbook. Now I'm going to add multi-provider. And inside this we need providers, and then after this, provider, app service, value, app service. Okay, let's refresh Widgetbook, and there we go, it's fixed. And I can switch between iPhone and Android here to see what it looks like for the different devices. So that's it. That's a little bit of an insight into how we use Widgetbook at Caza de Casa. If you have any questions at all, please let me know in the comments below. And if you want to advertise your property in Caza de Casa, please reach out to me and we can talk. Thanks for watching.